Hey guys, Nick from Arch City Poker, archcityplo.com. Today's video we are going to discuss how to adjust to short-handed play. A lot of you are having to play short-handed these days because of the pandemic, whether you are playing live poker and there are limited amount of seats at each table, or if you are playing online, you will end up in some shorter private games, shorter games on some of the online sites. It's really not that hard, honestly, to adjust from the full 9-handed ring games to, let's say, 4, 5, 6-handed games. Pre-flop ranges will be a little bit wider. That's simply because there aren't as many players at the table. You're not going to be out of position quite as often. There won't be as many good hands dealt mathematically. So theoretically, your opening range probably will be a little bit wider. For example, let's say you start four-handed, and even in a live setting. Let's say you're in your poker club. You sit down, the table's four-handed. The two blinds are out. You're first to act. You're in the cutoff. All right, you're not under the gun anymore. You're technically under the gun, but you're in the cutoff, so you would use a cutoff opening range, which is going to be quite a bit wider than what you would use under the gun. I'll post the link to the Poker Snowy app so you guys can still mess around with that. I think it's a really good interactive tool to help you, if you are a little more novice, help you understand what you're supposed to be doing pre-flop in all these spots. And if you are a little more advanced, it is a good way just to essentially like reiterate good fundamental play pre-flop. So you're going to be opening a little bit wider. You're going to be 3-betting a little bit wider in theory because your opponent is likely opening a little bit wider. And then you'll probably be defending out of the big blind just a little bit wider as well because, again, your opponents, when they go to raise or open, they're in later position. Their ranges will be wider. So if everybody's ranges are wider pre-flop, then what does that mean post-flop? Well, simply put, players are just not going to connect with the board texture as often. When you have a wider range, you're simply going to have more air, more marginal combos. What this means, and it's going to be great for you guys that are willing to be aggressive and willing to take some chances here that maybe you weren't willing to take before. Maybe it wasn't necessary because players' ranges were a little bit tighter in your 9-handed games. But what I'm getting at is you probably should c-bet a little bit more often than what you usually would as the pre-flop aggressor, especially, again, if it's a board that favors your range. Remember the step-by-step process as well, guys. I want to reiterate that. There's a floating hair there. I want to reiterate that as well, that if you follow the step-by-step procedure that I put in place the last 2 videos, what I'm using over at my training site right now, which is going to become the main staple of that site, step-by-step. Step 1, pre-flop decision. Make sure we're confident in that. Step 2, what's the stack to pot ratio? That'll help us plan out the hand, decide what kind of pot we want to be involved in. Step 3, range advantage, polarity advantage. So that's going to be very important as far as deciding who should be probably betting more often than not. If you're in doubt and you have a large range advantage, you probably can't go wrong by betting. If you have a pretty large range disadvantage, then you're probably incentivized to either start with a check or just check back or just call against a bet. You pretty much want to keep the pot smaller usually, and that's where that ties in with step 2 with SPR. Step 4, where are you at within your own range? And that ties in with all of it. And it might be the most important thing, to be honest, because if you have a good idea of where you're at within your own range, then you can decide what kind of pot you generally want to play in the end. So use that step-by-step process, guys, and you're going to be able to use that whether you're 9-handed, whether you're heads up. But as far as short-handed play in general, prepare to play more hands pre-flop correctly. Use that Snowy app, look at a pre-flop chart, figure out what you're supposed to be raising with, 3-betting with, defending with out of the blinds, and then post-flop, look to get more aggressive. C-bet a little bit more often than not. Raise in position, especially when you're against the pre-flop aggressor and it's a board that you feel like probably doesn't hit him as often. Feel free to check raise a little bit more often as well. You guys would be surprised at how often those will get through. Again, it's because our opponent's ranges are wider, so they're going to have less in the range that connects to the flop texture. You're going to be able to attack them with more aggression in general. So use more aggression, use the step-by-step system, and I believe that it'll help you guys start winning more often in the short-handed games. You'll be playing with more confidence, and you will have more fun. Make sure to check out the training site, archcityplo.com. The link will be in the description box, and I'll see you guys next Thursday for another video. Thanks.